geopolitics, you won't notice it. I mean, hello. Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. I had to go live. I saw this news and I am very upset for a number of reasons. First of all, the judge has not made a decision when it comes to Diddy, Sean Combs, being granted bail ahead of his May 5th trial. He has not made his decision yet. Diddy has tried 2 other times, and this is his 3rd time. Hi, Sheila. Hi, Afton. Thanks for joining me so quickly, so on the fly here. But, however, there's been some new filings that I want to go over. Also, it has been stated in this one particular filing and this one article that Diddy's lawyers have sent security over to this building to inspect it, which is not good in my opinion. I believe that means that perhaps the judge is weighing it, his bail. And I want to point something out here. Diddy is trying to reside on the Upper East Side. That is where I live. That is the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Let me tell you something about the Upper East Side. It's very family friendly. There's lots of children here. There's lots of teens that walk around by themselves because, you know, their parents feel safe because it's the Upper East Side. There's not tons of crime. I mean, there's obviously crime. It's Manhattan, but it's a really safe area. I am really pissed. I feel like this building is going to be a residential building. I mean, I'm assuming a doorman building. A lot of buildings up here are doorman, and you know, I can kind of see Diddy not doing a walk up or not doing a building that doesn't have a doorman. So it probably has other occupants, and if I were them, I would be like, hell no. So who knows what's going to happen, but I do want to go over some of this stuff because it's really troublesome to me. So let me pull up these docs right now. I have a PDF version of, Sue, I agree. He better not get bail. I don't know. Like I said, I just don't think this is a good sign. The fact that lawyers have sent security to look at this building. But let me, oh God. I'm going to share this. This is a Newsweek article that kind of scared me. I'll go over it. And this article, it stated that lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs say they are sending a security guard to inspect the 3-bedroom New York City apartment where the disgraced mogul will stay if he's granted bail this week. Guys, let me put something in perspective for you because not everybody lives in New York City. A 3-bedroom on the Upper East Side, not cheap. And it's going to be pretty nice as well. I mean, a 1-bedroom, I mean, that is a 1 to 2 bedroom, I would say could be up to in a doorman building with all the amenities, which I'm sure it's going to have. I mean, yes, it's like $10K a month, let's say for 2 bedrooms, which include a doorman, elevator, laundry, gym. So 3-bedroom, yeah, I'm guessing it would be upwards of, 15, 16K. I'm not sure, but this is the ballpark here. And I'm guessing that, yeah, Diddy, he's not gonna cheap out here because he's Diddy. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. He's going to be living pretty nicely if he's granted bail. Let's go on. So, in a heavily redacted court filing, which I will get to, Combs' lawyers told U.S. District Judge Arun Subramanian, sorry, I pronounced that so horribly, that a security professional was going to the apartment to assess the location. Security was also looking into where cameras and other security measures could be put in place. The exact location of the apartment has not been disclosed, but Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said it's on the Upper East Side. Okay, so the Upper East Side is Again, thank you, Afton. I love if you guys would like this and subscribe. But the Upper East Side is really considered after 60th Street, and I believe 96th Street is where they sort of consider, actually, no, I would say 100th Street is where it's considered to be Harlem. But let's also keep in mind here, Diddy is friends with Eric Adams, the mayor of Manhattan, who is also under federal indictment. So I don't really know how I feel about that. These security professionals scoping out the Upper East Side for this apartment, checking out street cameras and whatnot. I don't know if I trust it. I mean, literally, Diddy could send one message, however you want to get it to Eric Adams, to pretty much do whatever he wanted. So, and Stephanie, we don't know if he's getting bail. The judge hasn't made a decision yet. But what we do know right now is that there have been some new filings where Diddy's lawyers explained to the judge that they've sent security professionals to this 3-bedroom on the Upper East Side to check out the location, see how secure it is, and see if it would be fitting for him to stay there. And again, they have argued that this Upper East Side apartment is more restrictive than jail. I don't really believe that for a second, and I can get into that as well, because also in every single apartment, I mean, it's Manhattan, there are building rules, and I mean, I know that I have 3 fire escapes in my unit alone. So yeah, there are ways to leave without being caught on camera. I know that for a fact. And yeah, there are definitely ways to sneak around. Every single building in New York City has about 1 million entrances that can be accessed by staff, by the residents. And if you're Diddy, you can pretty much access whichever entrance you want. Let's be honest. So let me go back to this. Combs, 55, is currently behind bars at MDC as he awaits his sex trafficking case. The lawyers are once again proposing a $50 million bail secured by his Miami mansion, which his team claims is worth about $48 million. Wow. He has been twice denied by 2 different judges who decided that he's a flight risk and a danger to the community, including to alleged victims and possible witnesses. So that's one of the biggest things I think here is that if he's granted bail, how are these victims going to feel, his alleged victims? How are these witnesses going to feel when he's already allegedly been tampering behind bars? So that is really concerning. And let's also keep in mind that Diddy committed these alleged crimes at his home. He was in a comfortable place, a place where he had privacy, a place where he had security, all of the things that his team is proposing here. So I guess I just don't see how that's necessarily okay. But again, if you're just joining, no, sorry, if you're just joining, Diddy did not get bail just yet, but there have been new filings. Okay, so last Friday, we know that the judge decided to postpone his bail decision until this week. And as of right now, no decision has been made. So I do want to get to this filing. I have a PDF version of it that I will pull up right now. It takes forever here on my computer, but I'm getting so much faster. I'm so happy about this. It used to take me so long. Yeah, I mean, his team really is trying. I have to think that MDC is a miserable place that is just not treating him very well at all. But let's make these bigger here. Okay. So I'm going to pull up my version here. Okay, it's heavily redacted. So it says this short letter is in response to the government's letter and updates the court on one issue discussed at Friday's conference. Following Friday's conference, the defense located blank, blank, blank. I believe this is the address of the building that they want him to stay at. that this is an important safety measure that ensures the safety of Mr. Combs, the security detail, and others. Oh, I didn't realize that we were worried about his safety. Oh, that's really interesting here. Okay, so they don't want him to get Epsteined. Oh, well, all right, that makes sense. I mean, there are rumors that he could essentially put away half of Hollywood. I believe that. So, yeah, I guess they're trying to keep him safe as well. Interesting. We've attached several photographs taken on November 25th, 2024, which was yesterday. A security professional is coming to the location on the morning of November 26th, 2024, to assess the location, including the placing of cameras and other security measures. We have also spoken with pretrial services, which indicated that in the event that Mr. Combs is granted release on these conditions, it would want to inspect the location prior to Mr. Combs residing there. In regard to the concerns raised by the government, the stringent measures laid out on our bail proposal include, as the court will recall, that phrase is not necessary, as the court will recall. This is really wordy, but that Mr. Combs will not have access to a cell phone. Rather, the cell phone will be in the exclusive possession of the security detail, which will keep a written log of all incoming and outgoing calls, text messages, etc. I mean, I think, one of the biggest things here, and I think this goes for everybody involved, is how are they supposed to trust Sean Combs and the people that he surrounds himself with? I mean, just last week, it basically came out that the judge thought the defense was, I don't want to say lying, but they were exaggerating on what was actually taken during this raid, and that it's possible that Diddy just took the legal pads or whatever handwritten notes were in his cell and just kind of wrote, defense strategy or case notes or whatever. I mean, it's like, so the judge saw these photos and the judge submitted a motion that was like, look, you guys need to provide some context here because this is not really adding up after all. So that's not a good look. I spoke to quite a few attorneys, prosecutors and defense attorneys who were like, yeah, getting a note like that or a filing from a judge, not good, not good. So already, yeah, I don't think that Diddy or his team is trustworthy, and nor have they proven to be trustworthy thus far into his arrest. And I mean, I'm assuming that these security people are paid just like everybody else in Diddy's life. He pays them and they do his bidding, they do his dirty work. So again, this feels like a vicious cycle. In my opinion. And again, I am not a lawyer. I am an observer. I am a reporter, but this just doesn't really feel productive at all. Let me get back to this. I'll make it just a bit bigger here. Okay, so it says, in regard to the concerns raised by the government, the stringent measures. Okay, I think I said all this. Okay. The cell phone will be in the exclusive possession of the security detail. Oh my gosh, he must be so trustworthy because none of Diddy's other security did anything wrong or they were not complicit to anything. No, yeah, that's sarcasm. Accordingly, all such communications will be maintained both in a written log and within the phone itself. Right, because there's also no way to manipulate cell phone data at all. This is so silly. Without getting into the merits of the government's various allegations, these conditions address them all while also ensuring that Mr. Combs has full access to his counsel to prepare for trial and to defend the over 30 lawsuits in which he is a defendant. Oh, okay. So now they've changed it here just a little bit, guys. So now they're citing that if he stays in this Upper East Side apartment, he'll have more time with his lawyers to spend working on the case. Yeah, that's Sorry, that's not a thing. They can go to MDC. They can talk to Diddy every single day if they want to. And hey, guys, Agnifilo, you could also pull a Brian Steele here from YSL, and you could volunteer. No, Brian Steele didn't volunteer, but I don't know if you all followed that trial, but Brian Steele was held in contempt, and the judge was actually going to send him to do weekends at Fulton County. And Brian Steele actually was a badass, and he was like, listen, I'm going to appeal this, but if I can I at least share a cell with Jeffrey Williams so we can work on the case? This guy was actually willing to stay in a jail cell to work on the case with his client. I'm betting that Agnifilo probably wouldn't want to do weekends at MDC, and who can blame him? But my point is here that they're going to be fine. He can go and work on the case with him every day. I mean, yes, I guess they have some limited time, but I mean, there's a whole team of lawyers. They're fine. They're working around the clock, and I just feel like this is, well, we'll get to what Damian Williams filed, because what he filed is it's interesting, and it's scary. He makes some really good points here. But yeah, I feel like this is fluff. I appreciate that these attorneys are doing their job. They are relentless in trying to get their client out. And they're doing a really good job of convincing themselves. I mean, not me, and clearly people in this chat are feeling the same, that this is the right move, and that Diddy paying security and paying people to look after him is not the same thing that he's already been doing for his entire life. So yeah, let's go into Damian Williams, what he filed yesterday, because I think you guys should hear this. It's really intense. And like I said, it's really scary. I think we all have to be reminded of this. Okay. Adding this here, I'm gonna make it a little bigger, but don't worry, I'll be reading it, and I'll pull out the important parts here. So I'm gonna skip it. Defendant Sean Combs respectfully. Oh shoot, hold on, sorry, I pulled up the wrong one. Let me get. Okay, here it is. Okay, the government. Let me make sure that one's okay. Here we go. The government respectfully submits this letter in further opposition of the defendant's renewed application for bail and following the November 22nd, 2024 bail hearing in the above captioned matter. Blah, blah. Okay. For the reasons set forth below, the defendant's conduct, both past and present, constitutes obstruction, and his recent efforts to influence the jury pool are in violation of Local Criminal Rule 23.1 and in contempt of the very order incorporating that rule that this defendant demanded. The defendant's arguments that any of this conduct is protected by the First Amendment are similarly baseless. And, I want to also just point out that Damian Williams is resigning next month. And I believe he's resigning because he will be replaced with whoever Trump picks. But I'm hoping that, nothing will falter with this case, because Damian Williams is doing an incredible job right now. Money Mike, free Diddy, really? Oh gosh. He scares me. Like I said, he could be coming to my neighborhood. That's really scary, man. Okay. Also, what's scary is that, again, I discussed him having security because they are actually fearful of Diddy's life, which I found to be really interesting. They're actually scared that somebody is going to Epstein him, which is partially why they want such heavy security. So I'm also like, all right, this is my neighborhood, and I don't want any hits going down, okay, in my neighborhood. Just kidding. That's not going to happen. Okay, back to Williams. All right. Moreover, as detailed in prior hearings and briefly addressed below, the defendant's history of obstructive conduct is part and parcel to his decades-long pattern of violence, which must be considered along with his obstructive conduct to fully assess his dangerousness under the Bail Reform Act. A holistic view of his obstructive and violent conduct that's still happening presently, makes it clear that there is no way to rebut the applicable presumption of detention in this case. The bail package presented by the defendant does not come close to ensuring the safety of the community. Just kidding, it's everybody, including from the defendant's ongoing efforts to obstruct this case, nor does it adequately protect from risk of flight. For all of these reasons, the defendant's renewed application for bail must be denied. The defendant's conduct constitutes obstruction of justice and poses a danger to the community. And now here he goes into the obstruction part. And just to go back a little bit, he did mention the fact that Diddy is trying to influence the jury. And I believe he said this first before he said anything about witnesses. I want to go back and check that, because that's, yeah. All right. Obstruction in his recent ever. Okay. So it's interesting that he doesn't include the alleged witness tampering, but he does include trying to influence a jury, because I think the former is much more serious. Because you could also argue that having Diddy in shackles and, in his jail fit is influencing a jury as well, which is why the defense motioned for him to be unshackled. And so the fact that they're saying, well, Diddy is trying to influence a jury by, and one example is the birthday post that he had his family put out. They had him on speaker and he's like, oh, I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of the girls, especially. And that was their way of, or Diddy's way of trying to get sympathy from people, and namely his jury eventually. So, I mean, yeah, like that to me is not as big of a deal as allegedly intimidating witnesses and allegedly paying off witnesses like Kalena Harper, if that's true, because this is exactly what Jeffrey Epstein was doing inside and outside as well. Exact same thing. And there are so many parallels between Epstein and Diddy if you really think about it. So, oh, hey, my friend Relentless Aaron is here. And if you guys don't know Relentless Aaron, check him out. He's actually one of the people that filed the civil suit against Diddy, but his is much different. His really details Diddy's alleged criminal enterprise. And he also wrote a book about it, which is called The Night Puff Tried to Kill Me. Crazy. You can go and check out, I have 2 interviews with him on this channel, so go and check them out after. So, okay, so back to the U.S. attorney. Okay. Okay, importantly, obstructive behavior supporting pretrial detention need not rise to the level of criminal conduct. Okay, they cite some case law here. Okay, let's get back to Diddy specifically. Diddy specifically, it says here the defendant's actions fall easily within this definition of obstruction. Indeed, there is significant evidence that the defendant has engaged in multiple acts of obstruction during the time period relevant to the charges or the charged offenses and poses a serious risk of continuing obstruction. I agree. As set forth below, these acts include multiple acts he took in an effort to stave off the instant criminal charges, as well as acts he continued to undertake even after the indictment was returned in order to dissipate the potential evidence against him. The racketeering conspiracy offense in count 1 alleges acts of obstruction as set forth in the indictment. In 2016, the defendant, I love these little citations here. In 2016, the defendant bribed security officers with $100,000 in cash to destroy evidence of a brutal assault on a female victim, we now know as Cassie, while they were at a Los Angeles hotel for a freak off. Okay, this is really important, you guys, really, really important. They are citing, and I believe that most likely when it comes to his trial in May, they are going to have people that worked at the Intercontinental in LA or, wherever. They're going to get on the stand and be like, yeah, he paid me to try to destroy this footage, or he paid me to get rid of it. He paid me to shut my mouth. And this is pretty bad. And this is going to look very, very bad for Diddy, because this just solidifies his bribery here. And guys, welcome to my channel, Pop Crime TV, where I cover all of this stuff, celebrity crime, celebrity stuff, and crime in general. I would love it if you would subscribe and hit the like button, and also be nice to each other in the chat. I don't mind that you, if you want him to be free, you're entitled to your opinions, just be nice to each other. But yeah, going back to the security footage from 2016, he bribed them, and I guarantee they are going to testify to that. After a victim filed a civil lawsuit in 2023, alleging, among other things, that the victim's participation in freak-offs was not consensual, the defendant made multiple efforts to interfere with victims and witnesses by feeding those individuals false narratives regarding the defendant's criminal conduct. For instance, the defendant caused intermediaries, former and current security staff, to repeatedly call a former employee who had witnessed firsthand the defendant's abuse of the victim. Okay, so it sounds here like somebody on Diddy's team flipped, and they did corroborate the abuse of Cassie. And Diddy didn't like that. And again, this just goes back to his pattern of bribery, extortion, allegedly, and abuse. And I'm not putting allegedly in front of that, because we all saw it. I'm skipping through some of this. The defendant has evidently deleted messages between himself and key witnesses, including a grand jury witness and victim 2 in this criminal case. One of these witnesses is witness 1, a male commercial sex worker who participated in freak-offs and received a grand jury subpoena during the investigation. After defense counsel represented unequivocally at the prior bail hearing before Judge Carter that the defendant would not reach out to grand jury witnesses, it became clear that the defendant had done just that. Wow, wouldn't you know it? Prosecutors got a hold of his phone records, and electronic evidence showed that the defendant contacted witness 1 repeatedly leading up to and after his appearance in the grand jury. And then the defendant apparently deleted messages from his phone. So I don't really get this part when it comes to Diddy. I mean, he should know better. Everybody should know better that it doesn't matter if you delete anything from your phone. It does not matter. They can do a forensic sweep of it. They are going to figure out who you texted, and they are going to nail you. And that's just it. I mean, especially if you've already been arrested. It's so crazy. Hey, Gretchen and Tina, I think you just joined. Yes, he is still in jail, but it's interesting because there was a filing put forth by the defense, which stated that they sent security to a building to look at just in case Diddy is granted bail this week by the judge. Really scary. Okay, so then it says, while in pretrial detention at MDC, the defendant has used multiple unauthorized means of communications. This is important, which would make it difficult or impossible to monitor the defendant's communications. While the government's substantial investigative efforts have identified some accounts that the defendant is improperly using, and the government has obtained and produced those communications, the government has no way of knowing whether there are other PAC or Contact Me ASAP accounts that the defendant is using, of which the government is not aware. So just to add to this, right now, Diddy allegedly was also using other inmates' phones to communicate with his friends, family, witnesses here. So again, just going back to not being able to trust him, and not just for his past actions before he was arrested, his alleged actions after and in jail. So again, who's to state that he's not going to take his security guard cell phone and say, hey, can I use that? Or again, if he does go to the Upper East Side and he's in a doorman building, I mean, who's to say that he's not like, hey, can my super come up and fix my sink or my toilet's running? They come up, hey man, can I use your phone? I don't know, whatever. And I'm sure he's not going to say it like that. I'm sure there's going to be code words, but this is just like, it's just part of what he does. He can't be trusted. He is most likely going to use other forms of communication to reach out to people, witnesses, possibly family, friends, whatever. So I think that's really important to remember here, and hopefully the judge will remember that as well. Because I mean, again, if I was someone that filed a lawsuit against Diddy, or let's say I was a witness for the U.S. Attorney's Office, I might be kind of nervous knowing that he has bail and that he could have access to people and we might not know about it. And look, his lawyers might not even know about it. It's a scary, scary thought here. So let's go on. Put simply, when the defendant uses other inmates' accounts, his communications are very difficult, if not impossible. Such barriers to monitor the defendant have real significant consequences given the defendant's extensive efforts to taint the jury pool from the MDC, even in the communications that the government has been able to identify. And just going back, I just don't think that is as big of an issue, tainting the jury pool. I think the jury is going to have a really hard time just feeling any sort of sympathy for Diddy or feeling any sort of connection to him. And this goes back to a lot of things. I mean, when his party requirements were released and women had to weigh a certain amount, they had to look a certain way. This just really, it's not real life. It's not relatable. And again, he just lived so lavishly that I don't think a jury is going to be like, yeah, I feel so bad for him. I think one thing that can be said is with the amount of civil suits at this point, I do feel like, yeah, there might be, I don't want to say sympathy, but there might be some people who are like, yeah, well, and I've heard, I've interviewed a handful of celebrities. I can name two of them, John Sally, an NBA legend, and then Young MC, a hip hop legend, who both said the same thing to me when I asked about Diddy. I always have to ask. They said something along the lines of, well, the bigger celebrity you are and the more you do for people, the more that people want to take from you and take advantage of you. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that to a degree. And Diddy has had his fair share of lawsuits throughout the years because of possibly his status. There's Sean John lawsuits and there's the Diageo lawsuit. Yeah, there's a few civil suits. There was a chef, there was a security guard that his security guard allegedly beat the shit out of. I mean, yeah, there are things that were possibly going on because of his status and his power, but I don't necessarily know if a jury is going to think like that. I know that I personally would not think like that. I would just be like, wow, this is an abuse of power. But again, if you ask celebrities directly, which I have, they kind of are elusive about it, and they don't necessarily want to address the real issue, which is multiple things can be true. Diddy could have given a lot of money to charity. He could have given a lot of money to wherever, but he also could have done these horrible, awful things that he was accused of. So I think that they do a great job of just diffusing it and kind of talking around it because they don't want to outwardly show support because they could get quote unquote canceled, but they also don't want to drag him just in case because, hey, you never know. You never know what's going to happen or if these people had any communication with Diddy at parties or whatever. So let me just go back to this. Okay. While at MDC, and this is, I believe this has definitely been proven, but the defendant has instructed family members and third parties to contact multiple potential victims and witnesses. I do wonder if they have subpoenaed any of his family members' phones, like his mother's or, his older son, Christian. I mean, that I feel like they could probably make that happen based on these allegations. But yeah, who knows? The defendant has provided these instructions to others by using unauthorized means of communication, which, as described above, are difficult to monitor and often using coded language, which we have talked about before. Coded language. Duh. I mean, that has to be going on. There is literally no possible way that he's not using code words with family, friends, and whoever. There's no way. And guys, if you're just joining, don't forget to like and subscribe to Pop Crime TV. I go over stuff like this all the time. I just started doing impromptu lives, and I'm just kind of getting used to it. I'm sweating a little bit. My armpits are sweating. Sorry, that was too much information. But reading, it's a really good workout, clearly. Okay. For example, the defendant asked a family member to call victim 2. Separately, the defendant had a family member three-way dial a co-conspirator. And the defendant and co-conspirator used coded language, discussing a certain blank who has to blank now and blank. Anyone want to play Mad Libs with that? I mean, yeah, this is really weird. Blank, blank. Okay, let's do that again. Code language. While discussing a certain blank who has to blank now and blank. I don't know what the hell that could be. Who has the duck flies at midnight, whatever. There was no indication that attorneys were involved in these contacts, which is, again, what I thought. They probably don't even know. Between victims, witnesses, and third parties. Again, I don't really want to come down on the defense attorneys. I love you too, Afton, because they are doing their jobs, right? We know they're doing their jobs. And I believe that just going back to the jailhouse sweep, which caused the judge to file that motion being like, hey, wait a second, you need to provide some context here because these legal pads, they don't look like they have your strategy on it. I really feel like Diddy probably just kind of was like, and maybe his attorneys didn't even know about it. So not the best look. Again, very untrusting, which is all the more reason to not give him bail. This is a good one. Well, I already talked about this, but while at MDC, the defendant orchestrated a social media campaign around his birthday for the express purpose of influencing the jury in this criminal case. In the multiple calls leading up to the birthday post, all of which occurred on unauthorized communication channels, the defendant meticulously planned out the post. The video depicting 6 of the defendant's children singing him happy birthday while speaking to the defendant by phone was initially posted to the defendant's children's pages. But the defendant was not satisfied that it would reach the correct demographic. The defendant told a family member that he had been tracking the analytics. How? And directed the family member to post the video to his personal page because the defendant's social media followers are, and this is redacted. Guys, if you're a Diddy fan, I mean, keep in mind, he could be talking shit about you. They redacted this. I don't know why they would redact it if it makes him look bad, but there is something going on. And thank you, Peaches. I appreciate you. And Afton, I will miss you in the chat, but glad that you're still listening. And hey, Darkside, good to see you. Guys, again, like and subscribe to my channel if you are enjoying this content. So yeah, I wonder what Diddy said about his followers. And I also wonder about these analytics that he's been doing. I'm also surprised that Homie kept his comments on for a lot of the posts that he's been doing. I thought that was interesting. Oh, and I don't know if you guys caught this as well, the birthday post. Do you remember? I kind of made fun of when he said this, but he did say, "I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of the girls." I wondered why he was so proud of the girls. I guess that might be his like whole thing of the girls are the weaker gender or something, and so he's extra proud of them. I don't know. I was trying to figure that out. I could be just looking too hard into it, but whatever. Uh, okay. At the November 22nd hearing, the defendant attempted to distinguish his own obstructive conduct from more violent examples of witness tampering. These distinctions are unavailing. The defendant is charged with leading and founding a racketeering enterprise that on numerous occasions committed acts of violence, including trafficking, kidnapping, and arson. Okay, this makes me think, and I know that I'm jumping around here, but arson. We know he blew up, allegedly, Kid Cudi's car. Will Kid Cudi testify in May? Oh my gosh, will he testify for the U.S. Attorney's Office? I feel like he will. I really, really feel like he will here. Welcome, Simi. And yeah, Relentless Aaron, he is trying to show he cares about women. I guess that's a good point. We all know the truth based on these allegations. So yes, back to trafficking, kidnapping, and arson. Some of these acts were done by the defendant and others were done by his intermediaries acting at his direction. Any obstruction or tampering by the defendant must be viewed through the lens of that underlying violent conduct, as well as the lens noted that both violent and non-violent I skipped a line. Underlying violent conduct, as well as the lens of the defendant's enormous influence and power, which again is also why we're all here right now. Moreover, the Second Circuit has explicitly noted that both violent and non-violent witness tampering supports detention on the basis of potential obstruction. And I believe that just a separate charge in New York, witness tampering can be a felony, and you can get 8 years just for witness tampering alone, which is a really scary thought here. So, I mean, if this continues, I can see the U.S. Attorney's Office adding some kind of charge here if they do get confirmation and hard proof that the judge allows to be entered into his trial. I can see that happening, them adding this charge, because at this point, you know, they might as well if he's not following the rules here. So, oh, and then also, I don't know if you all heard about this, but last December, which was about a month after Kathy, she, her lawsuit was released to the public and they settled a day later. Well, Kimora Lee Simmons, who was best friends with Kim Porter, she wrote on her Instagram story alluding to Diddy, because it was right after Cassie's lawsuit was settled, "As you sow, you shall reap," or something like that. And everybody knew that she was referring to Diddy. And they had this tumultuous thing going on. Allegedly, Diddy threatened to beat the shit out of Kimora when she was pregnant. And then he later apologized for it. But in December of 2023, Kimora Lee Simmons's house caught on fire with her children inside. And there are no reports as to what really happened, what started this fire. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying they're very lucky, her kids and her family, that they were able to escape this fire. But again, I saw arson, so I thought of this as well. And all we know for a fact is that he blew up Kid Cudi's car. So we don't know that Diddy is related to Kimora Lee Simmons's house fire. But when that happened, Reddit was going crazy. The internet sleuths were going crazy. And yeah, for a minute, I was like, holy moly. I mean, I guess judging by past behavior, I don't know if I would put that past him. I think that, yeah, that could be possible, but I don't want to make any false accusations. Just putting it out there. Okay, so back to the witness tampering. Okay, likewise, other courts in this district have rejected arguments like those advanced by the defendant relating to public relations strategies built on discrediting witnesses and improperly influencing prospective jurors. In the context of bail, Judge Kaplan found that a similar pattern of obstructive conduct warranted detention. And then he cites more. Oh, he's citing Sam Bankman. Ooh, okay, hold on. You cannot. He's citing Bankman Fried, Sam Bankman Fried with Diddy. Dude, this is mind blowing. That little wiener, Sam Bankman Fried, excuse me, I feel bad. Sorry. I'm sorry, he wasn't threatening people with violence. He wasn't threatening people's lives here, allegedly. He didn't have this. Oh my gosh, that's really funny. They're citing that case law. Am I the only one that thinks that's wild and that's nuts? Oh my gosh. I'm just like, no, 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 no. Yes. And so, sorry, I should start pinning comments when I'm reading, but yes, I get it. You listen, Relentless Aaron DeWitt Gilmore, he has experienced this violence firsthand. So yes, you have every right to say, yep, that's factual. I believe that's factual. Totally. But yeah, wow, citing Sam Bankman-Fried, that's actually kind of funny. It says that this case is instructive because unlike here, the defendant was charged with a nonviolent crime, specifically perpetuating a multi-billion-dollar fraud related. Okay, sorry. I mean, sure, Diddy's technically charged with nonviolent crimes, but I mean, this RICO charge is definitely part of this criminal enterprise, which does contain violence that we have seen on film. So yeah, that's just so weird. I guess on paper it could make sense, but I think it's kind of wild to really make comparisons here. Okay. I wish I had a clip for my hair because once again, reading is hard and it really is making me sweat. Okay, Sam Bankman-Fried. Okay, finally, it cannot be ignored that the defendant's proclivity for obstruction appears to have continued as recently as last week in court. Now, here's where we're getting to the good stuff. When it appeared that the defendant provided falsified documents to the court during a hearing convened to address his accusations of government misconduct. Ooh, here we go. At the November 19th, 2024 conference, defense counsel represented the following about the condition of the defendant's legal notepads prior to the notepads being photographed during the MDC sweep. So again, they're claiming all this stuff about the notepads, and the notepads had not been photographed yet for the court to see. Okay. On top of the legal pad, he's handwritten in blue handwriting the word legal. All these legal pads say legal. That page was, and this is in quotes, that page was in a legal pad at the top of the legal pad. It was marked as legal. Days later, in response to the court's order dated November 20th, 2022, defense counsel admitted that the word legal was written on notepads after the notepads were photographed during the MDC sweep. Ooh, I didn't know that. So they did admit to it. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. They admitted that he wrote this after the sweep. I mean, they had to admit it because the judge filed a really scary motion for all defense attorneys everywhere, like I mentioned before. So I'm glad they came clean on that. Now, there is a photo of a legal pad that was in the materials that the government gave us, whatever it was earlier this week, that does not have legal on it. So it has to be the case that of the day of the search, November 1st of this year, that legal wasn't written on every single pad. It's clear after the sweep, the defendant wrote legal on the top of at least one legal pad to support his argument that the materials in the legal pads were privileged. The continued obstruction while he had a pending bail motion, no less, should currently be viewed in the context of all the defendant's other acts of obstruction for purposes of this bail determination. So, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, this is him, Diddy, basically, and his team, they had to admit that they kind of were doing damage control after this sweep. And that is a really, really bad look. That alone, I feel like it should, the judge should weigh that a lot here. The fact that he was a little bit misleading and that, again, everything he says is not truthful and he should not be trusted. It's also interesting why all of a sudden, with all of these allegations against him, some of them on video, we have, photographic evidence for a lot of these suits. Why all of a sudden are we, and why is the court supposed to think that Diddy has changed and that he is so trustworthy all of a sudden to follow the rules and not obstruct justice, not intimidate witnesses, and not try to influence the jury from the outside? I think that's a little insulting, I guess. Does it feel insulting to you guys? It feels slightly insulting to me, but okay. Now, this is where they get to his dangerousness. And this is where people like Relentless Aaron and, other accusers, I think, would feel very uncomfortable, as well as witnesses, grand jury witnesses, and witnesses for the May 2025 trial that the U.S. Attorney's Office is planning on calling. While there is ample evidence based on the defendant's obstruction alone to deny the defendant's motion for bail, the defendant's conduct in this case must also be viewed in the context of his overall dangerousness. In contrast to many of the cases cited above, there is a statutory presumption in favor of detention, given that the defendant here is charged with sex trafficking, and it's thus presumed that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the appearance of the person and the safety of the community. And I wholeheartedly believe that. That is a huge deal. So in addition, the defendant is also charged with participating in a racketeering conspiracy as the leader of a violent enterprise that exists to protect his reputation and carry out his will. That enterprise enabled him and assisted him in carrying out both premeditated and spontaneous acts of violence against numerous victims, including kidnappings, assaults, arson, and sexual violence. The defendant and other enterprise members carried and brandished firearms, including when the defendant kidnapped a former employee at gunpoint. Yeah, hey guys, did Sam Bankman-Fried deface AR-15s? No? Okay, cool. Why are you citing that case law? This is so absurd that they're trying to draw those comparisons. Again, I get it. Defense attorneys have a job to do. I am not trying to crap on them, but this is crazy. I mean, this is a man who is violent. And again, we saw this on video. I don't know if any of you guys saw this, but his team also recently sent a cease and desist letter to Shine, who has a new documentary out on Hulu. And I fell asleep. I started it, but it's crazy. Let the man speak. I mean, he did 8 years for you, Diddy and J-Lo, let's be honest. I mean, you think about this here. It's over for Diddy. He is used to having the justice system in the palm of his hand. How J-Lo was never called as a witness on the stand for that trial is just beyond me. And how Sean Combs walked and Shine did 8.5 years for assault and whatever it was, like reckless endangerment with a weapon or whatever it is. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't understand why this happened, but I do understand. But again, those days are over. And Diddy, he made a statement. I think I tweeted it the other day because it was in page 6 where Shine on this documentary says that, yeah, Diddy influenced witnesses to say that, Shine was the shooter. Shine did it. He acted alone, whatever. And Diddy, his statement was just laughable. It was like, how dare you all think that Sean Combs could ever influence a witness? And I'm like, look at this cycle. This is the same thing happening over and over and over again. What's my response to the CEO of Abercrombie as opposed to Diddy? I mean, yeah, that guy's 80 years old. And again, there was no allegations of violence. There was no defaced AR-15s. There's no videos of what's his face, Mike Jeffries kicking the shit out of women. So yeah, I mean, he's going to get what's coming to him. But no, I don't think Mike Jeffries is a threat to society right now while he awaits trial at his home. I mean, if he's, excuse my language, he might be like J-Oing to some nasty porn or something. But that's also not a crime. That's do that in your own house. You know, he's a weirdo. He's a literal weirdo. We can all agree to that. But I don't think that he is a danger to anybody at this moment. He is not as sneaky as Diddy. He does not have the resources. And I don't mean wealth-wise, but he doesn't have the, I guess, the people. He's not as intimidating. And he doesn't have a history of quote unquote intimidating when he's not supposed to. So, okay. So just back to his dangerousness here, which totally agree with. Over the years, the defendant's physical and sexual abuse has taken many forms, often in the context of long-term romantic relationships. Throughout, there is a common theme. The defendant repeatedly and consistently forced and coerced women to satisfy his sexual desires. Often behind closed doors, the defendant engaged in sexual acts of violence against women, including throwing them to the ground, dragging them by the hair, kicking, shoving, punching, and slapping them. He manipulated, coerced, and extorted women, including by plying them with drugs, threatening to withhold financial support, and threatening to disseminate sex tapes that the defendant has made of their own sexual encounters. He intimidated women, including by displaying firearms, threatening them, showing up at their homes unannounced, and attempting to beat down the door. On one occasion, with a hammer. Beyond his romantic partners, the defendant also physically abused his personal staff. Former staff members have described the defendant threatening to kill them, throwing objects at them, and being struck, punched, and shoved by the defendant, and seeing him do the same thing to others. I mean, he's like a baby. He's like a toddler throwing temper tantrums. You know, that is just such poor behavior to throw objects at people. I mean, who the hell raised you? You are mad, so you throw stuff at people? That's, I mean, and I'm not sorry. Everything that I just read is so sad and so scary. And I feel horrible for any man or woman that this happened to. But I'm just thinking out loud that it's like, what? You literally had man tantrums, and that's just so disgusting on top of everything else. So gosh, talking dirty. Sorry, are you talking about me? I didn't know that I was talking dirty. Oh yeah, I did say that about Mike Jeffries. Ugh, it's gross to think about. And no, yeah, sorry, someone said no, Diddy won't be pardoned by Trump. This is a civil arrest, not a no, this is a federal case. But I didn't know if anybody was saying that about him being pardoned. This is a federal case. His civil suits are state by state. But actually, I think I talked about this on my last live. Diddy has an associate, and his name is Jimmy the Henchman. And he was the former CEO of Czar Entertainment. He is serving a life sentence for, I believe it's a drug charge, and then it's setting up a hit on somebody. And again, this guy, Jimmy the Henchman, was allegedly there at the 1994 quad shooting of Tupac, where Henchman alleged that Diddy knew about it. And anyway, my point was, Jimmy the Henchman said that in 2021, Trump claimed to have pardoned him. And I guess Trump, as of last year, there was some kind of appeal, and Trump was like, nah, I didn't pardon you. So he's still in prison. Curious, what's everyone's favorite food? Oh, I like pizza. I like pizza in Brooklyn. But oh my gosh, MJ, you think he'll be out? God, I hope not. I really, really hope not. Yeah, Jimmy the henchman knows everything, and also the other Jimmy, Sabatino, knows everything. He was a Gambino crime family member that also had close ties to Diddy and Tupac in the 90s, who was also at the quad shooting. And Sabatino is actually, I think he's in the same prison as El Chapo. And allegedly, Sabatino has less privileges than El Chapo because he is a mastermind of just deception. And yeah, he's a dangerous guy, but not in the way of violence, but in the way of manipulation. He was the one who actually forged the 2008 unsealed FBI documents claiming that Biggie and Diddy, who was Puff back then, knew all about the quad shooting and they set it up. And then later, the LA Times actually had to retract this article they did because they found out that Sabatino made these papers with a typewriter from inside his prison. Just a fun fact there. But by the way, I definitely believe that Puffy and Biggie knew about the shooting that was going down at the quad because nothing adds up there. I mean, nothing adds up at all. Tupac and his people were the only ones robbed. They were the only ones shot. You know, Sabatino, henchmen, they were fine. It doesn't make sense. So I do believe that. But just going back to this really quick. Okay, so we talked about his former staff being punched and kicked and Diddy throwing temper tantrums. And then it says the defendant's conduct violates local criminal rule 23.1 and the court's order. The court also asked parties to clarify whether the defendant's conduct, specifically his recent efforts to influence the jury pool through an orchestrated social media campaign, is in violation of local criminal rule 23.1 and this court's gag order incorporating the obligations of the rule that was imposed at the defendant's own request. Oh, that's so interesting. So they're basically saying, hey, you mofos wanted a gag order. Well, now you're trying to go off on social media and create your own little narrative here. So you're violating the gag order that you wanted, idiots. I mean, that's essentially what they're saying. I guess you could argue that. As set forth below, it is both a local rule violation and contempt of this court's order with local criminal rule 23.1. Under local criminal rule 23.1a, parties are prohibited from releasing or authorizing the release of non-public information or opinion which a reasonable person would expect to be disseminated by means of public communication in connection with pending or imminent criminal litigation with which they are associated, if there is a substantial likelihood that such dissemination will interfere with a fair trial or otherwise prejudice the due administration of justice. Okay, that was a mouthful. And yeah, I guess, again, going back to the fact that they want Diddy to not be in his prison fit and in shackles because they don't want that to influence the jury negatively. I'm talking about the defense. The prosecution or the U.S. Attorney's Office also has the right to say all of this as well. They don't want Diddy's little social media crusade and narrative to influence the jury. Again, I really don't think they have anything to worry about because I just don't think there's any way a jury is going to sympathize with Diddy or sympathize with his lifestyle or anything that has happened to him after his arrest. I'm just checking this chat. Sorry. MJ, you think he'll be pardoned? Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's an interesting comment. I feel like you might be saying that because you think that Diddy has so much dirt on everybody, just like Epstein did, that they had to unalive Epstein, allegedly. And maybe you think that it's too obvious if Diddy somehow is unalived, so they'll have no choice but to pardon him so they don't take down half of the music industry or Hollywood. And gosh, I don't want to say half, it's probably 3/4. Is that what you think? Let me know if that's sort of what you're thinking. I I mean, look, okay. So if we're talking about Ghislaine for a second, Ghislaine is still kicking. She is still in prison. She has not been unalived, and Ghislaine has proven that she will not flip on anybody at all. And they have tried. They have tried. So yes, that was all what I said was all hypothetical. Yes. But yeah, I mean, listen, maybe Diddy will be as strong as Ghislaine. You never know. So, okay. And so, oh yeah, just back to that really quick. I feel like Trump and their whole thing is like the Hollywood cockroaches, the liberal elites. They need to go down. So I feel like I don't know if Trump would give him that pardon, but yeah, who knows? Okay. We went through this. Okay, within 2 weeks, okay, this is saying the defendant's social media post violates the local rule. Within 2 weeks of the court's order, the defendant instructed the family member to create the birthday post. This is all the same stuff. I just want to make sure I get all of it or anything that's super interesting. And you know what, guys? I will throw this into the chat so you can take a look as well. Okay, so basically, Diddy has alleged that his extrajudicial communications with everybody are classic protected speech. And the U.S. Attorney's Office is claiming, no, it's not. You cannot establish a narrative about redacted, constituting improper efforts to interfere with the integrity of the proceedings, which courts are obligated to protect against. And I want to put this out there as well, because I agree with what the U.S. Attorney's Office is saying here. But a lot of people might be thinking, well, Diddy is being dragged all over the media, and that might not be fair for him. That might not be fair for him to get a fair trial here. But he's being dragged in the media mainly about his civil suits, not necessarily what's going on with this stuff. I mean, yes, there are the clickbaity articles about how he's going to have peanut butter and jelly at MDC, which kind of sounds decent. Not for Thanksgiving, but that's what he's having for Thanksgiving. But yeah, I don't want that on Thanksgiving, but yeah, there's articles like that. But I feel like it is separate, the civil case, all the civil cases, I should say, and the federal case. So I'm not really sure they can necessarily use that, and they haven't per se, but they also have by trying to impose this gag order. So I get it, but I think it's tough. And I also think that, I don't know, I think the U.S. Attorney's Office has enough evidence to lock him up without all of these civil suits and without the media constantly dragging him. I don't think they really need to do that. So, okay. The defendant, nevertheless, claims that these type of communications are constitutionally protected because they merely represent the defendant's thoughts that his prosecution is politically motivated or that he is innocent of the charges against him, and constitute protected speech. Politically motivated. Why would they be politically motivated? That doesn't really make any sense to me at all. They're not politically motivated. You did this to yourself. And it's just sort of coming to light what a horrible person you are, allegedly, how you treat people in your life, especially the people that you supposedly love, like Kathy. I mean, this is just God. It's like, if he treated the people he loved like that, I really feel bad for his enemies. And so that just says a lot here. The defendant also appears to claim, based on his reliance on United States versus Trump, that he is constitutionally permitted to make public comments that the instant prosecution is politically motivated or that he is innocent of the charges against him, or comments similar in kind. But while instructive on certain points, the DC Circuit's Trump is, in essential ways, an opposite. The court and Trump face the unique task of balancing the right of a current candidate for presidency to speak publicly about his charges against the public's right in a fair trial. This is so crazy. He's citing, Trump's federal case, noting that based on the candidate's position, there was a strong public interest in what he has to say, and the First Amendment has its fullest and most urgent application to speech uttered during a campaign for political office. Those same First Amendment interests are not at stake here. Agreed. Further, the defendant's comments go well beyond attempts to claim that he's innocent of the charges against him and make clear that he intends to use the press to deliberately manipulate outside influences to be biased in his favor. Yeah, this is completely different. Again, going back to citing the defense citing Sam Bankman-Fried and Trump's case, I have to continue to point out that there wasn't violence and there wasn't weaponry included in their case. There weren't defaced AR-15s. And also, Diddy is going beyond saying, I'm innocent. That's one thing. Yeah, claim your innocence. He's allegedly reaching out to witnesses and reaching out to victims here through other means, through family, through other inmates, through faking certain things on legal pads. So yeah, I would say this is totally different and you cannot use this here. I agree with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I agree, Barb. He would not pardon this alleged pedo. No way. And that would be such a bad look. I mean, imagine you get into office and in the first couple months, you're like, let me just pardon the most hated man in America right now because of the alleged crimes that he committed against women and children, and obviously men as well. But my gosh, no way. Finally, to wiggle out from underneath the gag order that he demanded from this court and consented to be bound by, the defendant now claims that the First Amendment permits him to continue to engage in communications that may prejudice these proceedings as long as the potential jurors are subject to voir dire and he is prevented from speaking directly to witnesses. But the Supreme Court has made clear that the courts must take remedial measures that will prevent the prejudice at its inception. Yeah, that's obviously happening. I feel like jury selection for this, it's not going to be as hard as we all think. I really don't think it is, but I would trust the court here that they will take as long as possible to make sure that this jury is not prejudiced. And obviously there's going to be a voir dire, like obviously. Yeah. Sorry. I'm laughing at this comment. You know what? I might be the biggest POS in the world, but I'm still not as bad as Diddy. I mean, I feel like you are right. I'm sure you're not a POS. I'm sure you're just being hard on yourself. But let's all encourage each other to not hold ourselves to the Diddy standard. Let's all hold ourselves higher. But yeah, this is that was really funny. Kim K. Oh, you guys are talking to each other. I'm going, Diddy's attorney just announced it. Bail denied. All right, let's go here. I'm going to pull that up right now. Bail denied. Diddy. Gosh, I will be so happy. There's nothing yet. I don't see anything yet. Does anybody follow Raw Alerts on Twitter? They always have like the best, fastest updates right now. Wait, Gretchen, do you mind checking to see if there's anything on Twitter about his lawyers posting that his bail is denied? I follow Agnifilo on Twitter. I didn't see anything posted, but I also just want to say that going through the defense filing and the U.S. attorney filing, the U.S. attorney filing is just, gosh, it is just superior. I mean, they just brought forth so much evidence and so many things supporting why Diddy should not be granted bail before the trial that it's overwhelming. Like it really is overwhelming. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, so Gretchen is looking right now for us to see if there have been like actual valid updates about him being denied bail. And again, if you missed the beginning of this stream, I was freaking out because I live in Manhattan. I live on the Upper East Side, and I was kind of scared to know that he might be coming to my neighborhood, just knowing that it could pose a potential threat to Diddy himself if he's a target, and to all of us around the area, the community, as well as his victims and or the alleged victims and the alleged accusers. Okay. Yeah, no, it's fine. Gretchen's looking for the link. Sue, you can't see anything. I'll refresh one more time. Bail denied. No, what's the date today? It's 11/26. Judge, nope, that's September 17th. Okay, I don't see anything yet, but I do have a feeling that we will be getting some kind of an answer today. So I will keep refreshing right now, but let me just finish the this filing, because it really is really well written, and again, the evidence here about why he shouldn't be out on bail is seemingly overwhelming to me anyway. So the last part here is the conditions proposed by the defendant fail to ensure the safety of the community. Wow, it's like I just said that. For all the reasons stated herein, there are no conditions sufficient to reasonably ensure the safety of the community or the defendant's appearance in court. But to the point about which the court inquired of the government at the November 22nd hearing, the government additionally writes to make clear that the package proposed by the defendant is insufficient in numerous respects. Without any meaningful specifics, the defendant argues that through private security, he can turn an apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan into a more restrictive environment than the MDC and meet the requirements of the Bail Reform Act. The proposal relies on a private security company to monitor family visits, ensure zero non-lawyer phone or internet usage, and restrict visitation to a pre-approved list. I mean, we don't even know what this pre-approved list is. Is it just family? Is it friends? Is it associates? I mean, I feel like that, yeah, that's really vague, and I'm not comfortable with that. New Yorkers, are you guys comfortable with that? I just feel like it's not a thing. Let me see here. CNN, you said is reporting that he was denied bail. I will refresh that in a second, going through this. More to the point, in this case, private security, and here it is, we discussed this, employed and paid for by the defendant cannot be trusted. Throughout the charged racketeering conspiracy, the defendant has used private security to stash weapons, purchase narcotics, pay commercial sex workers, and tamper with witnesses, among other things. That's serious. That's a lot. The defendant did so through the racketeering enterprise that he led and controlled, and through which he wields his immense power and influence to cause others to act on his behalf. Private security paid for by the defendant cannot ensure that the defendant will not access contraband communication devices or tamper with witnesses, because the defendant has done that while incarcerated. So, yeah, this is basically what we said earlier. Okay, there's nothing reported from CNN. Thanks, Gretchen, for checking. This is so, wow, this is so interesting. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's funny. I feel like maybe somebody saw something else stating that he was denied bail from another date, because again, let's remember, he has asked for bail 2 other times. So there have been multiple headlines stating that he has been denied bail. And guys, welcome to my channel if you're just getting here. I love all opinions in the chat. I think it's amazing that we can all disagree, but let's just disagree respectfully here. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more coverage like this. And Ray, I think that it's taking so long to make this decision about bail, because I think, number one, he hasn't necessarily acted appropriately, While behind bars, allegedly, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, he has broken multiple rules, intimidated witnesses. He's communicated through inmates' phones, created narratives with his family members to try to influence the jury pool. And then I think the biggest thing here is that he can't be trusted to be in this secure environment when he is paying security to look after him. You know, this is exactly what's been going on for decades. Diddy pays security and they do his bidding for him. So I think, yeah, that's why it's kind of taking a while for the judge to review everything. But like I said, this motion is so well written by the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the defense really wasn't clear on what was going to be done besides, I guess, having security. Like, again, what does this mean? Who is on this pre-approved visitor list? We don't know anything here. So I agree. It's vague. It's very, very vague. Oh, wait. Let's see. A federal judge has punted a decision to next week. Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. Let's check Forbes right now. Okay, here it goes. The latest on Diddy from 34 minutes ago. It's the same thing. Prosecutors say he should stay in jail, which is what I'm reading to you guys. Oh, yeah, it does say that. Updated November 26th, 2024, 11:27 a.m. A federal judge has punted a decision to next week on whether music mogul Sean Diddy Combs can be released on bail as he awaits trial on charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, and Okay, so I guess, yeah, they're going to decide next week if he's going to get bail. I guess I feel a little better. So at least I know that I have one more safe week on the Upper East Side. I'm just kidding, kind of. Yeah, that is true. I just read that. I agree with you, Barb. I really do think this is his last chance. And so, yeah, the judge is taking his time and looking everything over. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, you're right. They can't try a fourth time. I mean, I guess technically they could, but no, this is enough is enough. And just finishing this, we already kind of reviewed everything because I said everything that I did not know was coming up on this filing. But the conclusion here is that for the reasons stated above, and in the government's prior briefing, the defendant's renewed request for bail should be denied. So I think that, again, they have proven their point. I mean, I definitely would feel very, very scared for everybody involved. And I definitely would feel, I would feel apprehensive for the witnesses. Absolutely. And I don't mean the witnesses necessarily that, again, file these civil suits. I mean witnesses that testified in front of a grand jury and are set to go to be a witness for the U.S. Attorney's Office in May. I would be scared for them. Absolutely. Let me go here. How can he prep for trial if he's in detention? Sounds like ground for an overturned conviction. No, this is what they do this all the time. Like very violent defendants are behind bars until their trial, and they are allowed time with their attorney. Absolutely, this happens all the time. So yeah, I'm gonna just make sure I didn't miss anything else here. Damian Williams. So I didn't really go through the defense, their motion, but I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff. It talks about, I mean, I'm sharing this tab right now. I'll make it a little bit bigger here, but this is Diddy's motion, and they cite that the government's stated rule is overbroad and vague, and that's when it comes to obstruction. They cite that he is protected by the Sixth Amendment. So it says, as outlined in Mr. Combs' reply brief, the other communications cited by the government reflect Mr. Combs' effort to investigate and prepare his defense, including with counsel's participation nothing more. His intent in requesting contacts with potential witnesses, for example, is clear from the record. Quote, I'm telling you to hook up with my lawyer because that's not part of our job. I'm not obstructing, no laws, nothing. End quote. That was supposedly from Combs. To be clear, if Mr. Combs is released, Mr. Combs will accept any condition that instructs him to avoid all contact with, no, we get it. Yeah, this was nothing, this was really nothing impressive to me. Nothing like the U.S. Attorney's Office at all. Yeah, not even a little bit. I thought that was very, very vague. And to quote the defense, it was just broad, very broad. And yeah, he has a criminal record and he has guns that we know of. And I'm sure he has many other weapons in his home. So yes, he is much worse than Jeffries, the Abercrombie CEO. Totally. I agree. Totally. I'm looking at the chat now. I'm just catching up, guys. Yep, that is correct. And Diddy also has been accusing the feds of leaking this video. And I don't know if you recall, he said it was all just part of their plan. And I mean, it's like, no, man, I'm pretty sure Cassie leaked that video and she had every right to. Whether or not she was communicating with the feds on this, I mean, like, sorry, it needed to be leaked. It really needed to be leaked. And at that point, I mean, they were building the case against him. So I feel like it wouldn't have mattered because it was going to come out regardless, right? It was going to come out at some point. And I think that what that video did was it gave people that have been wronged by Diddy, allegedly, it gave them courage to come forward and, speak their truth and do what they had to do. And I think that, that it was necessary for that video to be leaked. I think a lot of us were super shocked by it. And it's one of those things you can't unsee. I just remember when that video first came out, I almost didn't believe it. I was just, I don't know. I'm 40, so I grew up listening to, and this sounds dumb, but like, 7th grade dances, 8th grade dances. That's when that album came out, Puffy and the Family. I think it was, I'm not even going to sing it, but it was like been around, but whatever. I just feel like, so seeing that video, when I listened to him as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This is so disappointing. So freaking disappointing. My gosh. Anyway, guys. So as of right now, it looks like the judge has pushed back the decision to next week. So Diddy will have to spend Thanksgiving at MDC. I might take a trip out there just to check out the outside. Again, I'm in Manhattan. This is in Brooklyn, and it's in deep Brooklyn. So it might take me a while to get there, but I'm dying to just go there. And I want to hear what's going on outside. I want to, I want to see the area. I want to just get a feel for the whole place. I know I probably can't go inside, but I do want to take a trip out there. And then, I know I want to, and I'll do a live video from there. And I'll try to go to the next hearing as well. Even though the lawyers aren't really saying much outside, but I think seeing his family walk into the courtroom alone and just kind of watching them and their temperament and their mood, I think that alone is just so worthwhile. And also, it's crazy out there. Like, I think last time I saw Relentless Aaron, and he was holding his sign. And, the energy outside of the courtroom is super interesting. I think that's a good word for it. It's definitely not necessarily positive, but and that's a weird word to use, I guess, positive, because you've got people that really want to see him behind bars and really want to see him convicted. And then you've got, his family walking in who they want to see him out and they want to see, that he's innocent. So yeah, maybe I'll go for the next hearing, or yeah, to MDC. We'll see. But guys, don't I know my tiny mic. The whole time I'm shoving it in people's faces and I'm like, "Are you mad? Are you mad?" And they're like, "No, just get away from me. I'm not mad. Just go away." I was like, "I need information." Um yes, it's true. Cassie changed the game. But guys, don't forget, if you like this content, like, subscribe to my channel. I will keep putting out videos like this as soon as I get the information, and as soon as these motions are filed, because they're super interesting. Yeah, no, we discussed that the judge is pushing it till next week. So everybody be nice to each other. And no, Cindy, Diddy is not getting out as of right now. He's the judge pushed back the decision till next week. So yeah, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. Again, I'll try to update everybody as soon as there is another update. I guess next week we'll have some more information. Also, I'm going to try to get this address of his building on the Upper East Side. I'm scared. Like I said, it could be like 5 blocks from me, which is so terrifying. But all right, thanks so much for listening. I will see everybody later.